Listen to this episode if you have a successful business, but your sales have started to slow down after a couple of years of success. Maybe you're in a plateau, or maybe just your growth is starting to slow after being successful for a little while and you're wondering why. I know that this can be super scary. It's something that I've been honestly hearing a lot lately because the landscape of the world has definitely changed since 2020, 2021, 22, 23. We live in a very different world from a marketing perspective, from a sales perspective, from a consumer's perspective. And so today I really want to talk about this. This actually was submitted by one of you, the lovely listeners. It says, "Hi, Maddie. I have listened to your podcast for years and I value everything you share so much. I have a successful business making multiple six figures for the last 5+ years. It has grown every year since we started, but the last 2-ish years, things have started to decline a bit. Why does this normally happen? Do I need to change my methods?" Now, I didn't get any context as to what their current methods are. I will basically just kind of go over in general why this often happens, what you actually should be auditing in your business, how to fix it, and what not to do. And even if your sales haven't slowed, this is a really good audit to make sure that you have fully adapted to the times that we're living in today and how this actually really does work. Before we dive into the nitty gritty, I just want to take 10 quick seconds to introduce myself. I'm Madison Page. I am the host of the Business Growth Podcast. I work with product-based business owners to help them become the next category leader in their industry. We talk all things branding, community, marketing, sales, growth, freedom in business, and so much more. We put out new episodes every Tuesday and Friday. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss an episode. The scary things about business is really that sometimes you feel like you've made it. You feel like you're there. You feel like, okay, great. You hit this milestone. Oh gosh, I hit $250,000 in sales. I hit $1 million in sales. Whatever your number is, 100,000, everybody has this different number. And they get to that point and they feel like if I can just hit $100,000 a year or $500,000 or $1 million a year, I get to that point and I say, I made it. Then it just keeps growing after that. I'm not going to have to be doing all of this, grinding and really getting there. But one of the hardest things for founders is when you feel like you've actually done everything right, and then suddenly it stops working, things start to change, and you kind of have this brakes on moment of you saying, what the heck is going on? I thought that I was there. I thought that I had already made it. I thought that I didn't really need to make changes. I thought my grind time was over. I already figured out how to get here. I didn't realize I have to also figure out how to adapt and change and get to this next step. So this doesn't mean that your business is actually failing. It just means that the market changed and we actually have to make a little bit of a tweak here. If you've been in business 5+ years, you will start to see something that I call the pendulum is swinging. Basically, what that means is at a certain point, something was really, really working. And then, okay, it doesn't really work anymore. Now something else is working. And you kind of are just constantly playing this roller coaster pendulum back and forth of, okay, we have to hit this and we have to hit that. Now, of course, there's going to be things that are stable in your business. Things that don't change are your branding, your messaging, who your business really is. Now, we can adapt them if they are no longer relevant in society, but we want your brand values to remain. But what does have to change sometimes are the principles in which you are executing some of these things. Marketing principles really haven't changed, but the platforms have changed. What's working on social media has changed. How consumers feel has changed. So you might have to add in different levels of trust like we have to do right now. So I basically want to go over what happens here, what's the biggest reason that this happens, basically talking about some of the biggest blind spots that I see, and then the 5 areas that I would audit immediately if you are seeing this happen, and then what not to do at the end. We're going to do kind of a rapid fire list there. This is very normal. I just want to very much so put that in your brain that this is very normal. It happens to everybody's business. I've been in business with this company alone for 7 years at this point. I have seen multiple pendulum swings in my business. Gosh, if I was still marketing like I did in 2020, nothing would be working anymore, right? Understanding that you will have to change and adapt to society, to today, to the consumer over time. That's part of being a business owner. I know it doesn't sound lovely, but it is definitely part of it. Today in 2026, consumers are buying differently. Attention works differently. Trust is more important than ever before. And your expectations of your customers are very different than they have been. And what people are actually looking for is drastically different. Not to mention that the world and the landscape of owning businesses is much more saturated than it's ever been. Since 2020, we have had increase of new businesses starting every single year. With AI coming out, many people are saying the only way for me to build security is for me to build my own business. Many people are starting new businesses at a rate like we've never seen it before, which usually tells us that there's saturation in many of the key industries like we've never seen before. So understanding that part of the actual marketing landscape has changed, part of the actual business landscape has changed, and we live in this world right now that people are kind of holding on to their pennies, right? So people are still buying. Consumer spending isn't technically down, but consumer confidence is down. So it's on us to build in our confidence and trust and connection with our customers to make sure that when they are spending, they're spending with us, right? And that's really what we have to do here. So the biggest reasons that I see this happen is because businesses stop evolving while customers continue to evolve. We kind of get complacent a little bit. We get to this point where, again, we just feel comfortable and we know what's going on and we're stable and we know, okay, we have to do these things every month. We have to do these things every week. We have to do these things every day. And then things go out. Hopefully sales come back in and we get there. Most founders are still trying to win on yesterday's playbook. Most founders are trying to utilize what they've been doing when people just really have changed. So maybe you built your business through wholesale, unfair. There's a lot more people unfair right now than ever before. Maybe you grew on Instagram. There's a lot more content on Instagram than ever before. The Instagram algorithm has changed where it's not showing your content to your followers as much. Facebook ads have drastically changed even the last 3 to 6 months. Etsy, oh my gosh, the amount of people that I have coming to me saying that Etsy just isn't working like it used to is because Etsy has been overrun by a lot of drop shippers that just aren't the heart and soul of Etsy like they used to be. And maybe influencer marketing. Influencer marketing isn't really working the way that it used to either. So what happens in business is we find something that works and then all of a sudden it's not working anymore. And this is why taking people's playbook that worked for them 3 months ago, 3 years ago, 6 months ago, 6 years ago, you listen to all of these podcasts of people and founders telling you exactly how they grew so you can do that too. And then you start doing those things. But that's yesterday's playbook, baby. That doesn't mean it's going to work today. We want to know, what are those companies doing today to continue their growth? That's what I care about. I don't care how some of these major brands grew because what are they doing today to continue to grow is what really matters. All of those things just don't work the same way like they used to. And as we grow in business, we get very complacent and oftentimes we don't know that we created blind spots that we didn't know are there. It's the part that truly nobody talks about in business is that success can sometimes delay the innovation that you have. Think back to when you started your business. I, for one, was a gritty little gal. I look back at her and I am so proud of that woman who literally was working a lot of hours all day. It was the middle of COVID when I was really like building and scaling my company. And I was working a lot of hours. I was straight out of college and I kind of just like grinded it out, right? And I was doing a lot of things and I was playing with a lot of different areas and I was excited and I would try this and I would launch that and I would do all of these other things to basically try to figure out what works. And then you get to this point where you feel like your grind time is over. You find something that works, it keeps going, and you feel like you no longer have to go. When something works, you basically double down on it and throw away everything else. At least that's what you should be doing. But then you stop questioning, you stop testing anything, you stop looking and trying some of these new opportunities. And one day things start to kind of slip. And it's not because you did anything wrong. It's just because you stopped actually having that same level of innovation in your company. And so that's why I actually recommend my clients have a day, a month that is truly just play within their company. Because once you get to a certain stage, you oftentimes stop that like playful innovation that you often have. We see a lot of this in the world is you build and then you kind of start to dilute and it just doesn't keep building like it used to. You know, you just don't have that same level of drive or fun or something new like you used to have. And that's really what matters. That's really what business continues to evolve and adapt. And we have to swing with the pendulum as well. when we start to see these things slipping, we start to kind of question everything. We start to say, oh my gosh, what am I doing? Why am I? And it's not actually what are you doing wrong? It's that where can we adjust what we're actually doing? So the 5 areas that I would audit if this is happening to you immediately. First things first is your messaging. If it's okay, I'm going to interrupt this podcast for 30 quick seconds to let you know about the Founders Cafe. It is my completely free podcast community where you can gain access to bonus resources, gain access to me and free coaching calls, as well as build a network of other business owners just like yourself. Business ownership is a lonely game, and we might as well build community, build a network, and have a space to collaborate. We can bring this conversation and all the other conversations we have on this podcast over into this free podcast community and make this a two-way street. I would love to answer your questions there, connect with you, see you on our next free coaching call. Click the link in the show notes and you'll find the link there. Very often as you scale, your messaging gets diluted because at first you're really trying to talk to a very specific person. You're trying to talk to, somebody kind of within your niche, and you're really starting there. That's where you're starting to scale, is you kind of start to dilute your messaging within your marketing. So you're saying, okay, I'm speaking to this niche, I'm speaking to this community, I'm speaking to this small group of people. And then you scale and you say, okay, maybe I can talk to a few more people and a few more people and a few more people. And then all of a sudden your messaging gets a little diluted. So some questions to ask yourself. Does your messaging still reflect what customers care about today? Things have changed in the market. People care about different things today than they used to. Your values, your message, more about the brand, more about the founder, more about the actual business in and of itself. Are you selling the features when customers really, truly want identity? People don't buy lip gloss just because of the ingredients in it. They're buying lip gloss based on who they want to be when they put that lip gloss on. That's what actually matters. People don't buy and spend 5 times on a MacBook what they could just buy on a Windows PC because they think the features are truly that much better. Sometimes, frankly, I do think the features are much better on a MacBook than a Windows, but might be a bad example. But people buy the brand. People buy the fact that they like certain pieces about Apple. They like the identity of Apple. Yes, I know they seamlessly work together. That's why I have them all as well. But people do just like the brand of Apple. It's the same thing. Everything is all around the identity. Are you selling the ingredients when customers want a true transformation? You have to look at your industry. What is the true core desire of somebody that is buying your product? It's not actually always that simple. It's not always, oh, I'm buying my kids toys because I want my kids to have fun. No, you probably are buying your kids a specific toy because you want to be a good mom. You want to provide them with this toy that's going to give them enrichment because you want to be a good mom. Are you selling products when customers actually truly want belonging in 2026? So I want you to look at your messaging and see, have you diluted it? Are you actually speaking more towards the trust and the connection than you ever have been? And have you adapted it to today's market? The next one is looking at your marketing. The marketing landscape looks very different in the last even 6 months than it has for a very long time. Before it was, how can we make pretty things and how can we get it out there? Now marketing is a little bit more casual. And it's just because people are sick of things looking too polished. So are you creating the same content that you've always created? Because if you've created the same style of content for years, odds are it's not going to work anymore. Odds are it's just like not happening in 2026 because the content game is different. What people are watching on social media is very different. Has your content evolved at all? Is there enough depth? Are you educating? Are you entertaining? Are you connecting? Are you showing faces and making sure that people have somebody to connect to within your business? The next one is community. Have you even started focusing on it? Because community building is something we've been talking about here for years. And it's something that we have been preaching here for years. But it used to be a nice to have and a bonus. Now in 2026, it is a must have. People want to be a part of who they are buying from. They want to be a part of something. They are dying for that connection and the value and everything behind your brand. If you have not started focusing on community, that is probably a major gap in what you're doing. The next one is customer experience. People are buying from so many companies, and the expectation of a purchase has also increased. And customer experience helps you stack the monthly sales. Where we see a lot of people bleeding over time is that they never actually focused on retention of their customers. And customer experience is where you build retention. And when sales start to fall, I always look at your customer retention rate, because if your customer retention rate is also dropping, or it's the same people buying from you over and over again, there's probably a problem there. But if your customer retention rate is dropping, that tells me that we didn't do a good job in the last probably 6 to 12 months of actually giving a proper customer experience for people to feel really good about supporting your brand again and again and again. The first purchase is not the end zone. The third purchase is still not the end zone. We want these people to continue to come back. The second purchase is the hardest purchase for you to get from a customer. And so if you never get that second purchase, it's really unlikely for you to get it later on. We are trying to incentivize that second purchase as quickly as possible. And so what happens after somebody buys? Are customers coming back? Are they talking about you? Are they referring their friends? And what is their process like after they buy from you? Are you teaching them how to use your product? Are you getting them integrated into your world a little bit more? Last but not least is your actual sales platform. Basically, the sales platform channels have changed very drastically. Like I talked about on Etsy, like I talked about on Faire, even Instagram and all of that. Have you seen your channel actually changing? Are you on Etsy? Are you on any of those other marketplaces, Amazon, anything? Those channels have changed. Your retail landscape has changed. Are people still buying in those areas? Is it more saturated? What we're seeing is Amazon is saturated and Etsy is saturated and Faire is saturated and retail stores are falling through the cracks in a lot of different areas. And so the channel that makes the most amount of sense is e-com. And if you don't have control over your sales, where we can post something and we know we'll make X amount of sales, or that we can say, hey, here's our community, let's have a sale this weekend, or let's do an incentive this weekend. This is the estimated sales that we can have. If you don't have that e-com channel in 2026 and moving forward, it's going to be really tough. I don't think retail is dead. I don't think these other channels are dead. I think Amazon is great. I think a lot of those channels are good to have. But if you are lacking on the e-com D2C from a social media over to your website, or just people buying directly from your website, if that's where you're lacking, we need to go back and really look at some of this. And so I want you to look at those 5 areas if you're in this: messaging, marketing, community, customer experience, and platform. And you need to start there because things look very different. Now, what I want to make sure that is crystal clear here is what not to do. Please do not panic and think that this means that your business is done and over with and that you got to scrap it and start fresh. Do not automatically launch 5 new products and this new platform and doing this new thing. Don't go back to that same scrappy side. I do like that on an innovation standpoint, but first we need to plug the gaps that you currently have, because you do have a channel that is working. We have to figure out what is the plan here moving forward. Don't slash your prices because that's never going to go well. And do not just rebrand overnight. Don't hastily do this. What I want you to do is make sure that you don't fall into the trap that most founders do and assume declining sales mean that they need something or everything new. Usually we actually just need to refine. Usually we have to switch your messaging. We have to switch your marketing. We have to make sure your website has certain pieces to it. We need to make sure you're speaking to certain customers. We need to make sure your brand is still standing out within the marketplace, and all of that throughout. Oftentimes when it slips is more of an optimization problem than let's throw in the towel and start over. Okay, now we have to totally reinvent your business. It really can be the difference of, hey, we got to add 1 video a week of you talking about your products, right? That can help in certain areas with people that have certain gaps. It might be we just have to revamp how you're marketing and how your product description pages are laid out. It really depends on where you are currently at. If your business has been successful for years, that is already proof you know how to build something valuable. That tells me I'm not worried about you. What we have to do is we just have to make the proper changes in order to adapt to the current customer. The goal isn't to throw everything away that you know. The goal is to identify what just needs to evolve to fit the times that are in 2026. The brands that are winning and will continue to win for the next 5 years won't be the brands with the best products. They never are. They rarely are. They'll be the brands that are most willing to adapt to how consumers are today, because the quicker you adapt, the quicker the customers are going to fall back in love with you. So if you're seeing these sales decline, don't immediately assume that your business is broken. Don't immediately assume that, oh my gosh, this is gone. Ask yourself whether your customer has changed faster than your business has in the last year, in the last 3 years. Because in most cases, that's the issue, is that the customers continue to evolve and our customer is moving up and down and they're changing and they're going all around, and we stayed here. So we only are touching customers when they're at the stage of life that we are speaking to, where we actually have to move with customers a little bit. Now, basically, I want you to have systems in place to evolve and to adapt. The principles of marketing haven't changed. The consumer on the other side really has. If you are looking for support in this, we do just have a few more spots for the rest of the year for one-on-one strategic advisory to work directly with me, one-on-one with you in your business. And you get my eyes, my brain, my heart inside of your business to basically identify all of these pieces and be the quarterback of how do we consistently grow your business from there. If you have any questions on that, you can always apply in the show notes. Otherwise, you can head on over to Instagram and DM me at This Is Madison Page. Just DM me support and we can chat about it. We have just a few more spots for the rest of the year because we are coming up on the 6-month countdown for the year. And we would love to work with you. We would love to help your business and make sure that you end this year on a good note and going into 2027 with a lot of momentum. We'll fill the leaks in your bucket. We'll fill your gaps, and we'll make sure that you are fully caught up on what needs to be done in order to reach your ultimate goals in business. I hope that this episode was helpful for you. As always, I love you. I'm rooting for you. I'm in your corner always, and I will see you in the next episode. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Business Growth Podcast. We put out new episodes every Tuesday and Friday. So if you love this one, make sure that you're subscribed so you never miss a conversation. If you want more conversations with me and other business owners, make sure that you join our completely free podcast community, the Founders Cafe. The link is in the show notes. You can get bonus resources, access to free coaching calls, as well as connect with like-minded business owners like yourself. Make sure that you rate and review the podcast 5 stars, share it with a friend to keep those conversations moving, and come back every Tuesday and Friday. I'll see you there.